Hi, I am Tanya Johnson. I'm the founder of Helping Hearts Homeschool. We're telling your followers that you're starting a live video. Okay, good to know, Instagram. Thanks. Grab your coffee, whatever beverage of choice. Hey, Tiffany. And I am going to kind of walk you through step by step how we prepare for a new homeschool year each year. But if you don't know me, again, I'm the founder of Helping Hearts Homeschooler. I help parents and grandparents basically navigate the waters of homeschooling because it's fun, it's chaotic, it's a little bit of both. Those of y'all that homeschool, you already know that. Like, you kind of get the best of both worlds, but you also kind of get a bunch of the other stuff as well. So if you're watching on Instagram, make sure that you check out my stories. Every day I give you a fun, behind-the-scenes look at homeschooling, whether it's a science project we're doing or how to teach a new math concept or maybe a new phonics blend. Whatever we're going through, I also share really awesome homeschool products up there. Oh, thank you. Tanya says she really likes my hair. Also, I really like your name. This is called, I haven't washed it in a few days. That's what this hair is called. I also show up in my stories how I figured out how to make Facebook and Instagram completely fund my homeschooling. So that's also a neat little thing if you're into that. And then if you're wanting more in-depth looks on certain subjects, check out my highlight tabs. Reading, science, Spanish, music. There's also a tab up there you can get a free Spanish lesson. So that's pretty cool if that's something that you're interested in your child learning. And then if you check out the link in my bio, if you're looking more in depth, like what curriculum to order, figuring out what your teaching style is, your child's learning style, that kind of stuff. So just a little bit about this page. And if you're watching on YouTube and you like this video, you find value in it, please consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions or just what you liked about it. And then, like I said, if you like any of the above stuff I mentioned, go check me out on Instagram at Helping Hearts Homeschooler. So without further ado, let's get started. And like I said, I'm going to tell you the 5 things that we do every single year to prepare. And there's actually 2 parts to this. The first part is what I'm sharing today, which is the 5 things that we do. The second part is more of an in-depth look of how I get my curriculum and actually spread it out over the year. So this is more like big picture planning, I guess, and you'll kind of, I think you'll understand a little more once we get into it. But it is worth noting we do year-round homeschooling. So this particular thing that we do, when I say it's to prepare for the new school year, we typically do it toward the end, like when our curriculum's about to run out. So we are in this like planning mode right now. And the first thing that we do is we just set out our goals. So what do I want my daughter to get out of school next year? That's kind of what I look at. We don't use a box curriculum. We do eclectic schooling. So I do have a bachelor degree in teaching. That's one reason I decided to become a homeschool coach, because I do think there's a lot of value that you can learn from going to college to teach. But then there's also a lot of things that you learn hands-on homeschooling that they never teach you in a classroom. And I can confidently say that I've learned a lot since I have graduated and started teaching my own child. But one thing that I do is, and I would recommend doing, is look at your state learning or your state standards. So whatever state you live in, you can usually Google these. Like, for example, I'm in Indiana. I literally just Google Indiana state standards for 2nd grade. That's the year that we're going into. And it'll kind of tell you what your 2nd grader should be learning, quote unquote should, right? These are goals. And then also you can also just Google, I would do the state standards, but you can also Google like nationwide, what should a 2nd grader know by the end of 2nd grade? Now, again, I can't strongly stress this enough. These are goals. This does not mean that if your kid does not know everything on that list by the end of that school year that you failed in any way. This means these are a great benchmark to go off of and see, okay, maybe you are starting your child in kindergarten and the national standard says by the end of kindergarten year, they should be able to read X amount of words. I don't remember what it is. I can tell you by the end of my daughter's kindergarten year, she still couldn't read 3-letter words. So for me, one thing I look at going into the next year is there anything last year that we struggled with that we need to keep teaching? Because there was no point in me starting the first grade reading books with my daughter when she couldn't get the grasp of putting very common sounds together. Now, I will say, my daughter is 6 and she's going into second grade. She will start second grade, I guess a few weeks before she turns 7. Well, she's already in second grade in some subjects. If you're homeschool, you know what I'm talking about. Your kids are hardly ever in the same grade and everything. But, so we started kindergarten when she was 4.5. She was about 6 months shy of being 5. So we ended up doing kindergarten reading for 18 months. So right now, we are about to be in second grade in all of our subjects, yet we're in the middle of our first grade year for reading. And that's okay, because your kids are gonna learn at different speeds. My daughter is much better in math than she is in reading. However, I will say, again, we took inventory of this right now. Like, this week is what we're doing goals. My daughter can read very well. She can read like a good first grade strong student can read. But one thing that I'm noticing is she's having trouble with certain word families. So specifically AY, AI, OU, and OW. So what I'm going to do is either find a workbook or a game, something to reinforce that we're going to add into our second grade curriculum. Does that make sense? Like, you're in total control of this. If there's something that your child should know or you feel like they're struggling with, you can go get an extra resource and you can add that in. When we started, when we were setting our goals between kindergarten and first grade, something that I noticed is my daughter she was having trouble recognizing coins, but our math curriculum didn't cover it very well. So I went and got a math book that was just money. We've been going through it a little bit each week, and she can now recognize coins really well. She can count them. She knows their values, including half dollars. So we're pretty confident with that. But we are going to focus a lot more on certain word families for second grade, and then we're also going to focus a lot on telling time with a non-digital clock. So there's always going to be things that your kids excel in, and there's going to be things that you're like, they could use a little extra practice. You can get some more resources for that. So first, when we set our goals, second thing is I go through inventory, which means I go through all the homeschool stuff in my house, whether that is games, whether companies have sent me stuff to review. Like right now, Schoolaroo just sent us a pretty giant geology set. We have like a crystal making set from them. We have a volcano building set. We've got several books. So I know I'm going to do a pretty in-depth geology unit for science next year because we already have all of the products. Middle of this year, I guess, Build a Project gifted us an anatomy building set. So actually in a couple of weeks is when our unit is scheduled. We are going to have a pretty in-depth anatomy unit for a few weeks, and my daughter is going to learn a lot about body parts. So if you have certain resources like that, maybe you found them on clearance, maybe you got a really good deal on Prime Day, like don't be afraid to use stuff that you already have and kind of create a unit around that for one of the subjects. And then of course, if you already have learning games, or maybe you picked up curriculum at a curriculum cell, like you go through and figure out, what do I already have? And then number 3, you can kind of fill in the gaps. Okay, what do I need to buy? Now, I will tell you, we do have a very healthy homeschool budget, but we didn't start out like that. Some of you know my story, some of you don't. Glory is our miracle baby. I was never supposed to be able to have kids. And even once I had her, homeschooling was not on my radar. So I actually worked in marketing. I had a really awesome job. I really liked it. However, a couple months into our daycare life of dropping Glory off at daycare at 6 o'clock in the morning, picking her up at 6 o'clock at night after we got off work, I honestly hated it. I Googled every work from home job I possibly could. Finally, I landed on basically learning how to advertise for different companies on social media and make them pay me for it. So I started with one company, because that's the smart thing to do. You start with one and then you kind of branch from there. And eventually, well, not eventually, about a year, I guess, eventually makes it sound longer, I replaced my full-time income. I became a paid stay-at-home mom, which is pretty cool to be able to say that I have that title. And then I was like, well, maybe I do want to homeschool. So I told my husband, I was like, if I want to homeschool, I want to do it with all the bells and whistles. I don't want to be scraping for all the free things. And if you do that, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying my personality, I don't want to do that. So I set a goal. I hit that goal, which means I made that much extra in the job I was working, or I am working. I still do it. And I decided to start homeschooling. So we do buy certain things throughout the year. I'm not super conscientious when it comes to finding things on sale, but I will tell you, if you have a little bit more limited budget, or maybe you're just a little bit more conscientious about it, now's the best time to do this because all the back to school sales are coming up. I believe Target and Amazon had like the buy two, get a third for free. We just had Prime Day. If you look at your local papers, all the stores will have random back to school sales. So yeah, all that to say, this is a very good time to do inventory loading, basically. It's not really inventory, but you know what I'm saying. So first one is set the goals. Second one is take inventory of what you already have. Third one is go buy all the new things that you want to buy, but keep in mind, you know, you and your spouse need to make sure you're on the same page with that budget number. I can tell you, for the first year of our homeschooling, I just kind of bought what I wanted when I wanted, because again, I was working, like we both work, but I had already replaced my income. So any extra I made was kind of just mine to spend on whatever I wanted. And most of it went into homeschooling. And so when we got my 1099 back, my husband kind of made the comment of like, there's a lot of money missing here. Like, it says you made this much. That's awesome. But like, where is it? And then of course we went through the business expenses, which weren't even 10% of what was missing. And you know, then we went through Amazon and I was like, oh, I bought this game. And I mean, drop me a 1 in the comments if you buy homeschool stuff that you don't even really like need, but it just looks so fun. So you'll find some of those when you go through your inventory. I definitely did. And then now we sit down and we set out a budget, and my husband still says it's way too high, but that's okay. He lets me kind of control it, but I do stick to it. So whatever it is, talk to your spouse and come to an agreement so that doesn't become a point of tension either, because in homeschools, the budget can sometimes become an argument point. And then number 4, totally kidding, I skipped something. You know, 3 and 4 I have both down as buy the new things. So apparently there's only 4 things in this video, not 5. Oh well. Guys, I'm a homeschool mom and I can't count to 5. So we're just going to say number 3 is buy the new things, and number 4 is buy more new things and schedule some field trips. There you go. And then number 5 is purge. Now I will say I only have 1 child, so I don't have to save things back for siblings. Now, if you have more than 1 child, when you're purging, you're kind of just moving it from one room to another to be in storage until more kids come. But I do routinely have other kids here that I teach as well, not on a full-time basis. It's not anything permanent. It's because we homeschool year-round. Anytime I babysit anybody's kids for breaks or school or summer or whatever, we all do school together and we just make it really fun. So what I do is I have boxes in my garage that say, okay, preschool, and it has a bunch of preschool things in there. Kindergarten, and then we'll have a few first grade ones after this year. So you can get rid of things, and I do. I get rid of things that are not nice. Like if it's a workbook, for example, it's all marked up, I'm going to throw it out. But if it's a game, you know, that just, my daughter doesn't need it anymore, I'm not going to throw it away. So the only exception to this is if I don't keep it, it's, for example, if I have someone I can give it to. Like I just recently had a mom who's going into her preschool year. So I gave her all my preschool stuff because it's really nice and there's a lot of it. And I said, hey, look through this. Anything you want, you can have. I just ask that you use it. I don't need it back. Like it's yours completely free. I just ask that if it's still nice when you're done with it, that you either save it for your next child if you have one between now and then, or you pass it on to somebody. Like don't throw it away. Preferably don't sell it. You know, be a blessing. Get the blessing, use the blessing, pass the blessing. And she took a lot of it. So most of my preschool stuff is gone. So I will give it away, but I'm just not a fan of like reselling that kind of stuff. I'd prefer to be a blessing to somebody. So those are the 5 things. Plan your goals. I don't even remember the 5 things without looking. Plan your goals. Go through your inventory, buy new things, buy more new things because we're moms. We like to shop. Let's just be real. And then purge through your old things. And then, like I said, I do sit down and take all my curriculum and divide it up. And I'll do a whole nother video and show you guys how I do that. Oh, so everyone plans differently. Now, I will say I've seen a lot of creators post these videos on basically how to plan your homeschool year, and they're kind of all the same steps, which I love because great minds think alike. It means that I'm doing something right if a lot of the other homeschool moms are doing it as well, even if they don't teach my exact style. Like, we all kind of have our little planning system in the beginning. But if you do something different, or maybe you do something unique, or maybe you do exactly what I do, let us know in the comments. Like, drop in the comments, what are your plans? How do you plan for the new year? Because what I say may not resonate with everybody, but maybe what you say, someone watching the video and they see some of your points, and that ends up being what helps them. So feel free to drop in the comments, and I will talk to you guys next time. Let me see how to stop this.